Hello everyone, Slothcakes here, and welcome to a well overdue Gundam Battle Operation 2 video. Now today I want to talk about the latest news that just hit, and that is Code Fairy. Now Code Fairy is a standalone expansion for Battle Operation that gives it a single player story mode. Now this comes to a surprise because I never thought they would give this game like a single player story mode. I thought the only single player thing they'll do for this game would be the battle simulators. Now the first thing I want to talk about is that Code Fairy is a standalone expansion. You do not need Gundam Battle Operation 2 to play this, even though Battle Operation 2 is free. However, if you do play both of them, they both benefit each other. You get things from Battle Operation if you have Code Fairy, and you get things from Code Fairy if you have Battle Operation. Next important thing is this is paid content. The standard edition for Code Fairy will retail for 6,600 yen or $49.99 USD, while the deluxe edition will be 8,470 yen or $59.99. Now the difference between the standard and deluxe edition is nothing too big, it's just extra stuff you'll get for Battle Operation 2. The deluxe edition doesn't really affect Code Fairy. And another thing is that Code Fairy is going to be released in volumes. If you pay the $4.99, you're going to get all 3 volumes, it's just you gotta play them when they're released. Volume 1 will be released on November 5th, Volume 2 November 19th, and Volume 3 December 3rd. You can buy each volume separately for $19.99 each, however if you pre-order the deluxe or standard edition, you do get 1 day early access. Now why are they releasing it in volumes? This is most likely so they can keep it in tangent with Battle Operation 2, because if you have Code Fairy and Battle Operation, if you do tasks in one of them, you'll get benefits in the other game and vice versa, so they just did that in volumes so you could bounce off each game and not burn yourself out, or beat the entire game in a week and just never touch it again. But with all that through, let's move into more what Code Fairy is about. Now we don't know too much about the story. Now what we do know is it takes place during the 1-year war, and it appears to be an all-women's group called the Noisy Fairy, which is under direct control of Cassilia Zad. But so far that's basically it. Now as for gameplay, this game runs on the Battle Operation 2 simulator, so they play practically the same. However, if you look at the HUD, there are a few differences. Because this game focuses more on the single player aspect, they buffed up your AI teammates, which if you ever played the battle simulators, you're gonna be really thankful, because I always felt like the AI were really stupid and just were really good at hitting you more than hitting the enemy. Now as for gameplay, there's not that much to talk about since this does run on the Battle Operation 2 engine, so they play practically the same. However, they did show off a command system which allowed you to order your teammates to do things such as focus one target, which for a game that's single player and has AI teammates, that's really helpful. They also showed these skills that could activate during battle that just gave your team a small boost of stats. But now let's move on to the real meat of this video and talk about the newly announced mobile suits, because we got 7 to go over and some of them are really exciting. Now first up is the flagship of Code Fairy, and that's going to be a high mobility Zaku ground type, and I gotta say I'm in love with this color scheme. I love these shades of purple with this silver and red, it looks beautiful, and this is just the color scheme of the Noisy Fairy group. Now being a high mo ground type Zaku is cool and all, but the most interesting thing about her is her weapons. This mobile suit is shown to be equipped with a rocket bazooka, a heat saber, head Vulcans, wrist-mounted missile pods, and a shotgun. And in the trailer, we briefly get to see that this Zaku has all those things equipped onto them. And I don't know if this will translate to regular battle operation, but if it does, that is terrifying. Having a mobile suit that has a main weapon stun, a sidearm shotgun, and having 2 things that can help finish off enemies like the missile pod and Vulcans sounds like a very loaded kit and sounds really terrifying to run into. Next 2 mobile suits are part of the Noisy Fairy group, and the first one is a Zaku 2 sniper. Now, aesthetic wise, this is just a Zaku 2 with the head of a recon Zaku, made for sniping. It's pretty straightforward. Only interesting thing is that beautiful color scheme, and that interesting looking rifle. It looks like a ballistics type weapon, but how it shoots is probably just a mid-range sniper rifle. In considering these three Zaku's travel in a group, having someone for long distance that's not too far away from everyone else makes sense. Now the final Zaku in the group is a Zaku half cannon, and besides the beautiful color scheme, there's not too much of a difference. The only noticeable thing is the antenna on the head, and this one's depicted holding a shield. Not only that, the Zaku machine gun that it's holding is the anti-air one, which is the one that shoots the explosive rounds that shoot in a slow burst. Also, this Zaku machine gun has a grenade launcher under it. Now, I don't know if this will translate gameplay-wise, it could just be cinematic fluff, but in the trailer, in the cutscenes the half cannon appears in, he's moving decently fast and zipping around. Now, he's not as fast as the Haimo Zaku, but this guy could be a general type and could have some decent speed on him, which could make him a threat on the battlefield gameplay-wise. And that covers the Noisy Fairy group, and let's move on to the next mobile suit, which is a Gundam Pixie. Now this Gundam Pixie doesn't look too different from any other Pixie, however he does have this red color scheme, but the most noticeable thing is he's using the same scythe that the Gym Striker uses, which is a very interesting choice of weapons, especially on a Pixie. Now in the trailer we do see a Gundam Pixie, however this Pixie is in regular colors and is holding beam daggers that the Pixie usually has. However we do see a Gym ground type holding a beam scythe. And this might lead to either that Gym ground type pilot, then piloting a Pixie, then that Pixie becoming a custom where they get the color scheme and that scythe, but we'll figure out when the game comes out. So if you get the standard or deluxe edition, for battle operation you'll be given the Zanny. And if you guys don't know what the Zanny is, I love this thing. This thing's the Federation's first mobile suit, and it was made from reverse engineering a Zaku too. And while this project wasn't well funded, and it was their first mobile suit and made from reverse engineering an enemy mobile suit, this thing was really kinda sorta terrible. It had a lot of technical issues and was prone to malfunctioning, so it was an awful mobile suit to use. Thankfully, the Federation didn't really deploy this thing, they just used it to test future pilots, and they used it to help make mobile suits like the Gym and Project Victory. Now its weapons are pretty simple because you can simply see it all on him. He has head Vulcans, he has no melee weapon so he's prone to punching and kicking, and for the weapon he's holding, he has the 120mm cannon, which is just a modified version of the balls cannon he has on the top of his head. Now moving to the last three mobile suits, these three are special, and for a few reasons. First is that they're actually new mobile suits that aren't just a recolor or just things tacked on. Second, these three mobile suits are actually getting high-grade model kits. And sadly, they're gonna be P-Bandai, so you're gonna have to get them when they come out. So first mobile suit up is the guy with the VR headset, and this is gonna be the Black Rider. Looking like a variant of a Pale Rider, his appearance has a very uniqueness to it. While looking pretty normal from the waist down, he does have a somewhat thicker chest, a wrist-mounted gun, and this weird backpack that looks like he has two sonar dishes. Now this are most likely radar equipment considering the large VR headset, and anytime any mobile suit has head equipment, it's usually doing something like reconnaissance, sniping, or something like that. Now for one of my favorite parts about this guy, that's the giant weapon he's holding. And that's the same weapon that the Desert Gym and the MSV ground type gym has, and that's a railgun. And I'm a huge fan of railguns, and they're not really that used in Gundam. Now, lore-wise and aesthetic-wise, having a mobile suit with all this recon equipment and having a railgun is pretty dangerous. A little extra, but I'm not complaining. Now, gameplay-wise, I really like this railgun on the Desert Gym and the MSV ground type gym. They're very satisfying weapons to use. I love the sound it makes, and just when it hits someone, I just love the feeling it has. Now, next up is also a Pale Rider, and that's known as the White Rider. Now, this guy looks like a variant of the Pale Rider Cavalry type, however, the things on him are a little confusing. The weapon on his right looks similar to the cavalry type's weapon, just being a machine gun with a mega particle cannon and missiles attached to it. However, he has this very large thing on his back, and I can't tell if that's just a massive gun, a massive launcher, or a massive beam gun. Either or, I'm very interested to figure out what that is. However, one of his biggest appearance things is his head. He has a very weird looking Gundam head, having this weird crown on him, and honestly, while I get the crown aesthetic, he kinda looks like he has that Asus Wi-Fi adapter taped onto his head. But besides that, it's a pretty cool design. Now the final mobile suit on the list is the mobile suit we know the least amount because he didn't appear in the initial trailer, and that's the efreet jager. Now being an efreet is fairly important because lore-wise there's only like a dozen efreets that have ever been produced, so the more we have, the less we're gonna get in the future. And if you know anything about the efreet, they are all so beautiful. The efreet has an amazing track record of just having gorgeous looking mobile suits. And while we only have a chest and head shot of this guy, he looks no different. Now going on to speculation, every efreet in the past have been in a close range, either close range weapons or melee oriented mobile suit, either being stealth or semi-stealth, being a rushdown mobile suit that's hit and run tactics, being quick and fast, being a nimble hit and run suit. So I assume the Jaeger is the same. Now if you notice the color scheme, this is the same colors as the Noisy Fairy, which is the team you play as, which makes me believe that this is either a mobile suit that belongs to a higher up in that group, or maybe it's a mobile suit that's given to Alma, the character you play as, later into the story. Now, I believe it's the latter, because I don't think they'll introduce a new efreet just for some NPC to play as and you never to give a test run to, and also, Alma pilots a high mobility ground type Zaku, being a quick and nimble mobile suit, it would make sense that she would transfer to an efreet, being a nimble and quick mobile suit, so that transition would make sense. And her being the head or the lead of the Noisy Fairy group, it also makes sense that later down the line, she is gifted a specialty mobile suit for being an ace. So what's my final verdict? Well, having a single player mode that's much more fleshed out and not just a battle simulator sounds very interesting. It sounds like it could attract a lot of newcomers or just give people who are constantly playing or take hiatuses a reason to get back on. Now for the biggest thing, the full retail price. This does seem pretty steep for what seems like just a story mode, but I do want to be optimistic and believe that it's this price because the amount of content it's going to give you. It's going to have a lot of missions that are replayable, it's going to have a bunch of unique missions, unique scenarios, new maps that we've never seen before, maybe have things like horde mode, survival mode, boss battles, or trials, and all that snazz. Again, I'm trying to be optimistic and trying to look forward to it. Also, I love all the new mobile suits they've shown and even the ones in the Noisy Fairy group. All those Zakus look beautiful. I really like those Pale Riders that they showed, and I'm a big fan of efreet, so you know that. So hopefully I get to get my hands on one of those P Bandais. But anyways, I'm planning to get this day one, so I hope to see you guys there. But like usual, Slothcakes here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hope you guys have a good one, and see you next time.